So this is wrestling with the dynamics between openness and closedness, between safety and security and engagement. So this is largely from a Bill of Rights kind of perspective. It's like, we need people to be open in order for information to flow. Like there's a bias against holding too much secret information or preventing people from sharing, all the copyright stuff and things like that. So we're trying to have things be open, but you need to not get screwed when you're being open. It's vulnerable. Being open creates some kind of vulnerability. People can take what you have or know or harm you or know where your weak points are, whatever. So openness is risky. We need it, but it's risky. So one thing we want to have people feel safe enough, particularly from oppressive power, from government power, from large corporate power, wherever the concentrations of power are, we want people to feel safe from that, even though there's all these other dimensions we can't necessarily manage, safety from your children, who are able to figure out your weak spots. We can't manage that. We can manage the larger social dynamic that says, your own space is not going to get invaded and messed with by powerful forces, particularly the government. So that's what this is largely about, privacy guarantees. And the reason we want people to develop and express their uniqueness is to have the uniqueness. Uniqueness is the personal dimension of collective diversity. To the extent everybody is unique, the larger collective that they are part of is diverse. And diversity is a fabulous resource for generating wisdom and realizing wisdom, making it happen. So we want to have diversity. And of course, other aspects of this pattern language deal with how we go about using that diversity creatively. But we want to have it. We want to make it safe for people to be diverse, for people to be themselves. They're unique with their unique gifts and perspectives, etc. And in order to do that, they have to defend themselves from oppressive power, social power, governmental power, that is going to try and create conformity, that's going to try and control what's going on. So we try to find ways to guarantee their privacy while seeking to make them feel safe to be open. So that's that pattern. And some of in the United States, was in terms of relationships with the government, the American Civil Liberties Union probably has the largest and most dependable history on that. One of the classic examples of them defending the Nazi Party, the U.S. Nazi Party, American Nazi Party, from allowing them to march in Chicago. It's like this despicable ideology, and these people that follow it that is very hateful and wants to deprive all sorts of other people of their civil liberties. The American Civil Liberties Union supported their right to march. I disagree with what you say, but I'll defend to the death your right to say it. I can't remember who said that, but that spirit is the ACLU. There was also between the ACLU and the ACU, the American Conservative Union, which is the largest grassroots conservative organization in the United States. They had an alliance along with other allies against the Patriot Act, which had a number of passages which were very invasive of people's privacy. So there's a funny way that the left and the right can come together around that, knowing that privacy is so important. And it's the powers in government and certain powers in large corporations that are against too many guards on privacy, but an awful lot of the different political factions at the grassroots level support it widely across the political spectrum. The Fourth Amendment of the U.S. Constitution guarantees the security of your place and your person and your personal belongings, and requires search warrants. You have to give adequate reason. The government has to give adequate reason in order to invade that privacy. And there's all sorts of abuses of the process of getting search warrants, et cetera. But institutionally, there's an understanding that you have to have really good reason to violate somebody's privacy. And Edward Snowden releasing what he did about how the surveillance capacities of the National Security Agency was a really epitomized the whistleblower phenomenon of saying, here's a large, powerful government force who specializes in invading privacy. That's their job, to find out what's going on that people don't want the government to know what's going on. And there's a certain logic to, the government needing to know that, but overwhelmingly they had reached way, way, way beyond that. And Snowden blew the whistle on those aspects of the NSA that he felt were, generalized. They were not well targeted. They were generalized spying on everyone. So his effort to ensure people's privacy is another example of whistleblowers. And of course, there's encryption and web anonymity. You're trying to, the arms race between the surveillance forces and the people who are trying to protect themselves. So the dance, encryption and the ability to break encryption, and the anonymity and the effort to try and get around anonymity and all the ways that happens. It's very much like an arms race. Each new development gets a counter development, and it just keeps on going forever. But that dance is about that. And for the most part, it's been on the side of privacy, with tremendous battles raging whenever there's a serious violation. And the Freedom of Information Act is not only transparency of government, but it's like I could write a Freedom of Information Act request to get the FBI's file on me. I haven't done that yet, but like when I was in the draft resistance in the 60s, later on in the 80s or something, I met somebody who had been in that activist household with me, and it turned out there was an FBI informant among us that we never suspected, that he found out because he did a Freedom of Information Act request. So the ability to find out where and how your privacy has been invaded is Freedom of Information Act dimension. So those are all dimensions, and the more we are thoughtful about privacy guarantees and keep the criteria high for violating privacy, the more it fits into what we're trying to do in a wise democracy, while we invite people to not hold so much private, to be able to be comfortable sharing the kinds of things that are needed to be shared in order to have the society unfold in wiser directions.